Wow, look, I love, this is my favorite part. Hey, welcome everybody to my favorite part of webinars, which is watching the numbers climb on the attendees list. We're at like 70, 74, 75, 80. This is cool. It's really good for my ego. Know most of the names here. I got some new names. It warms my heart that everybody logs in to hear what we have to say. So pretty stoked here. For 90, 98, 99. Okay, we just hit 100. So while we're logging in here, we're gonna do the whole starting a few minutes past the hour because people need time to log in here. So I'd like to introduce, we got some new face on the webinar here. This is Nicholas Koyu. He's our new Director of Marketing at Liteline. So pretty stoked to have him aboard. For those of you who don't know Sarah, you might be in the wrong webinar. And we've got Hanny, who's our product manager for the OnCloud program, and Gil, who's our lead product manager. So hopefully we'll be able to answer any questions you guys have. If we don't have any questions, we know it's because we gave the world's most perfect webinar, which is highly unlikely. So there will probably be questions at the end of this. We're at 111 attendees. This is awesome. And I'm just gonna burn another 60 seconds of airtime till that attendees number kind of hits that peak, plateaus, and drops down. So we'll let it go for another minute or two. I've got the, this is like 3 years in to webinaring now for us. So originally this was like, oh my God, how are we gonna do business when we're all afraid to see each other? Because, you know, human interaction kills your grandparents. But I think we're mostly past that. This is just kind of the way things go. So I've gotten really good at it. We've gotten really good at doing this webinar thing. I've got my ultralight monitor here, which means that I've got the chat box and the questions and answers and the attendees list and my video and the presentation. It's like right out of like Wolf of Wall Street, like Screen City here. So what that means is that if you guys have any questions, please drop them in the chat or the question and answer. If I feel that they're relevant, I'll answer them right in the presentation, and if not, I'll ignore them until the end. But what helps is that like I see like the attendees list is we're at 118 now. So the more you guys put in there, the more I know we're actually listening, and it helps me guide because I enjoy presenting in front of people. And this is just kind of like I feel a little schizophrenic talking to myself into a screen. So keep up the good work, says Anonymous. I like Anonymous. Anonymous is awesome. I appreciate that. And we are 5 minutes past. So that's enough like fluff and waiting for people to join. We're at 123 attendees. Super stoked. Thanks everybody. Okay, so jumping right into it. Why are 123 people logged in right now? What is Liteline going to say? What are we talking about here? What's the whole story? So pretty stoked. Really happy about this. So we are officially launching our LUNA OnCloud product. This is like, now we had a director of marketing previously who was, you know, like trying to get to know me. It's like, what do you like doing? Like, why do you like Liteline? What's your favorite thing? What's your favorite thing about what's going on? And I said, I like ticking boxes. I like setting goals and achieving them. And this particular product was like a big box that had a lot of goals there's a lot of steps along the way, but we're super stoked to launch it now. So what are we talking about? So the presentation ostensibly is about this thing. This is a 5-channel full color tunable white, individually addressable Wi-Fi LUNA fixture that has a lot of cool tech in it. But we're gonna hit pause on that and talk about why it's super cool. So, you know, we've probably most of you on the webinar here, like this isn't your first time hearing Liteline talk about OnCloud, isn't your first time hearing us talk about this whole thing. And there's a giant question that's sort of hanging out there, which is, why, right? Like we've had light since, like, I don't know, it's sort of like lighting is like kind of the defining trait of what humanity and civilization is the ability to see at night and see indoors and create indoor spaces. And like, so like we've survived the last, 10,000 years without a fully connected Wi-Fi light fixture. But the question is like, so like, why? Like, what's the value prop? What are we doing here? So the main message that we really want to get across in this whole story is that, I was sneak preview, is that it's not a toy. There's a real reason why having the ability to change CCT, why having the ability to change the color of the light is a good thing to do. And I was explaining this to Nick, he's new with us here, and he's like, so what's going on here? I'm like, most of you guys that are on the call here are probably from lighting agencies. And when you're a lighting agency, you've got that group that like sits in the corner. Maybe you're a member of that group that sits in the corner and you're on the webinar here. But like, it's the controls group, right? Like lighting controls is a really, really, really big deal, because it's like, you can't just have lights connected to the circuit and on all the time. We like to turn lights off. We like to dim them. So it's not controversial that there's a lot of value add. There's a lot of value add to being able to control lighting. But up until like really, the last couple of years, we've only been able to do one thing with lights, which is turn them on or turn them off, or maybe change the intensity of the lighting. Because once we start getting deeper, like, well, what else would I want to do with lights? Well, white tunability is a big conversation right now. We know why we want white tunability, because we have because lighting really affects how we work, how we live, what we do. It's, when you have a lot of bright, cool white light, we are more alert. That's uncontroversial. When you have dim, warm lighting, we're more relaxed. If you've been in theatrical or hospitality, like there's a reason color shift gels have existed for a long time, because you start throwing color at things and it makes us feel excited. It makes us feel thrilled. If you do it wrong, it can make us feel like unsafe and scared. Like that's like, there's an entire world of theatrical lighting here, which has always been left to that sort of highly specialized application, because the controls were so difficult and so complicated, and nobody wants their wall to look like a DMX board with a whole bunch of different in a residential application with a whole bunch, like a DMX board of like sliders to do what you want. And quite frankly, it's too complicated for most people in most applications. But if there's one thing that like really this whole remote work thing and pandemic story hit home, is that our homes are a lot bigger. And when I say bigger, I mean like serve a lot more purposes than what the names of the homes are. We call things a bedroom, but bedrooms aren't just for sleeping. You call a thing a kitchen, but the kitchen isn't just for cooking. Our bedroom can be our office. Our bedroom can be our sleeping area. Our bedroom can be where we teach our kids to read. Our bedrooms serve a lot of functions. And so as lighting professionals, if somebody had asked you to design the lighting for an office workspace, that would be like one kind of light. And if somebody said, hey, could you design a lighting for like sleeping and relaxing, that would be an entirely different kind of light. But what would you do when they're the same room? When they're the same physical space? And that's the value prop. That's the key feature that we're talking about. What we can do with OnCloud is we can make the same physical space with the same light fixtures, with the same light fixtures, with the same installation, have two entirely different applications, different meanings, and different purposes. So you know what? Anonymous has asked if these two pictures are rendering or Photoshop. I don't have the answer to that, but what I do have the answer to is the room I'm in right now is live, and I'm breaking number one rule, which is never pick up your phone while giving a webinar. But I can just kind of hit the control button here and just jump right into. Let me know when that. And that's not Photoshop. That's live. That's real. We can do really cool stuff in person here. So have a bit of fun. But yeah, so long story short, so where am I right now? I'm in my home office, presenting to all of you guys, and I'm living in West Coast time right now. Head office for Liteline is in Toronto, East Coast. I am online at, I'd like to say 5:30 a.m. That'd be a lie. I'm online for 6 a.m., 6:15 maybe most days. And it is dark and rainy and cloudy. And if I had this room lit the way I have it right now, or even, I'll just change this back to static, even in a warm white type of light right here, it's really hard to be alert and awake at 5:30 in the morning when it's dark and rainy and the sun's not going to rise for another 3 hours. But when I crank it up to 5,000K at 100% light output, I am awake. It is impossible to sleep, and I'm alert and I'm productive. But this room that I'm in right now is also my jam studio. I've got, you can't see it here, I got my guitars and my drums behind here. And after work hours, we like to put it to purple. Buddies come over. British Columbia has a reputation, and it's way better in purple. So yeah, that's kind of, it really enhances the livability of the space. So that's like the 30-second pitch. We can go on for a while on that, but you know, it's pretty straightforward. You know, in the past, we've really only been able to do, you know, we've only been able to control lighting in one dimension, which is the intensity. Now, a lot of our competitors are now going into 2 dimensions, which is intensity and color correlation. Once you start throwing, CCT, so basically the black body curve, your whites. Once you start throwing colors into the mix, then we get a lot more. You know, it just expands the opportunities to really create powerful, meaningful spaces. So that's sort of that's the full pitch on the sort of the reasoning why we're doing. So now the boxes that we're taking. There's some cool stuff going on in this fixture. This isn't our first full color 5-channel downlight. Our first full color 5-channel downlight was the sky fixture. Most of you guys were here, and so the question was, well, why did you build the sky? Like, there's something. I'm gonna go grab a hand sample. Give me 1 second. So the thing with the sky fixture, this is a 6-inch, we have in 4-inch too, is in behind the fixture here, we've got this sort of flat white panel, which, you know, can be a bit glary, and, you know, flat panels are flat panels, but there's SMD chips in here. Because we're 5 channels, there was no 5-channel COB. There's no 5-channel like point source existed, but 5 channels, by the way, I mean, warm white and cool white LEDs. So we get 95+ CRI through the entire white spectrum. And then you got your RGB LEDs. So we built this array, and we put the diffuser plate in front of it. And then we regained it, so you get some control, and we put the trim on it. So you got the sky fixture, pretty cool looking. The Luna takes it up a notch. And the reason we did the Luna second is because we, as far as I know, invented the industry's first 5-channel COB. So there's a 2700K to 6500K white COB that's in there, plus RGB in a point source, in a reflector, and you get your tiltable, aimable functions. And like Luna, it's still the only, or at least the original wet location tiltable fixture in the ceiling. And it performs really, really, really well. I have them in the office here. It's everything you know and love about the Luna, wet location, type IC, just really good optics, 38-degree beam spread, 30-degree tilt, 1,000 lumens, 910 lumens at 12 watts, available round and square, white and black outside. And now you push the Luna into full color tunability, full white tunability, and full color. It actually goes down to 2200K because we can do some red injection on it. So that's 20, we're in 27 right now. We can actually push it right to 22 and lower the intensity on it. And it's now fighting with the natural daylight that's coming in from outside. I know the cameras like to white correct, so you don't get the full effect on it, but just super cool fixture. They're in stock, shipping now, and it's kind of like the holy grail of residential downlighting, or even hospitality, retail type stuff, because again, they are individually addressable. So I can turn off one fixture at a time. I didn't turn off the fixture that was behind me. So I'm turning off all the wrong ones. There you go. So we can turn off the fixtures are individually addressable without having to, rewire, regroup. So that's the long and short of what we're presenting right now. And we got one more slide here, which is basically comparing and contrasting the two options that we have for full color downlighting. So the Luna, brand new, launching it today. You guys are the first to know about it. Super stoked. And then the Sky, we've been at it, I guess, about a year now, probably 2 years. The Sky uses SMD LEDs that are regressed. They give a really nice glow. They're actually what I have in the bedrooms and in my kitchen, in my living room. So they can, they sort of fill the space with light. And then the Luna is a point source COB with a really efficient faceted reflector that's really punchy. By punchy, I don't mean glary. I just mean it delivers a lot of horizontal illumination and is very effective for creating high performance applications. So here I can just like hit the light, highlighting kind of stuff behind here without actually changing all the lighting in the room. Just super effective for those types of things. So we're at the end of the slides. I'm going to read some questions off here. So Harry asks, is it dimming with Triac ELV? The answer is no. These are Wi-Fi controllable lights. So basically you're in the wall, you're actually using our room controller device, which is it's actually a Wi-Fi broadcaster that sends the signal to the system. So it's specifically not controllable with Triac ELV. The only wall control that goes in there is the Liteline room controller. Doug, can the program hold the schedule? Can the fixtures be grouped together? The short answer is absolutely yes. Not only can it hold the schedule, you can do advanced scheduling. There's circadian rhythm scheduling, so you can set your white tunability to shift with the outside temperatures through the day. And that's the short answer to that. So yeah, we could probably do a full webinar just on the OnCloud and WiZ app and all the features and functions that are available there. We got lots of content on YouTube and on our website on scheduling and how that works. Harry again asks, can we integrate with any control systems? There are currently drivers that exist that work with Control 4, and we are working with Crestron to do native control. And we've got some cool stuff in the back end that'll basically do like an analog converter. So if you can just do contact closures, you'll be able to integrate with the system. Paul says, I'm installing the Skies in my man cave garage. Can't wait to play with the lighting around. Cheers, my whiskey and cigar. We also can't wait to get the photos of your space to show how it works, because we're super stoked. Can we show the room controller? The short answer is a definite maybe. I usually have one on my desk right now. I have them installed on my wall. And give me 1 second to pop off camera. I think I've got one right here. We are in luck, my friend. I can show one. So here's the device. Let me know when that sorry, give me a thumbs up when the glare from my camera comes off. Can we see? Oh, there we go. Buttons are there back here. Am I going the wrong way?
Dan, come a little closer to the camera.
Closer to the camera. Oh, there we go.
A little closer to you, right there.
Okay, perfect. So we got a couple of features. You got your on, you got your off. Right side is your dimming, left side is your CCT control, and then across the bottom you got two buttons that you can scroll through your favorites. Your favorites can either be a scene in the room or a specific color temperature or a program that you've scheduled to run. So pretty straightforward, goes into the wall, and then we can talk about a lot of the platform on how it works. That's basically what's going in the wall. And then that's standard size, so it works with any faceplate. We provide a faceplate, you can use it, or you can stick it in a there we go, or you can stick it in a multi-gang box with other devices. Okay. No field changeable beam spread options. That is correct. Like the Luna family, it's all an integrated what location sealed unit. And we spent a lot of time dealing with 5 different light sources inside this thing and getting the colors to blend so that you're not getting like pinks and blues in the middle of it and then things. So please don't change the optics that we have on here. They work really well at 38 degrees the way they are. As the program grows and we get more traction and the volume picks up, we have all kinds of ideas for like architectural grade with different options, but we got to kind of get the ball rolling on the platform. So no, the Luna is the Luna with no field changeable optics. How many fixtures can you control? Oh, I don't know, hundreds, thousands. Are there, okay. Oh, we're getting lots of questions. This is amazing. Perfect. So how many fixtures can you control? So the safe answer is there's no limit on the number of fixtures. The limit is really based around your Wi-Fi system. So what you, so the main thing you got to do to make this whole thing work, probably the best example I heard from one of our sales guys was like, hey, you wouldn't buy an electric car without making sure you had a charger first, right? Because if you bring the electric car home and like you don't have a charger, you're just gonna get frustrated because your car is not going to work. You're gonna be out of power. So the equivalent in this system is you really got to make sure that your Wi-Fi system is up to scratch to handling the number of fixtures that you've got. So if you're just using your standard kind of like Wi-Fi router from your ISP, you know, your Bell, your Rogers, your AT&T, your Verizon, those things are limited to about 25 to 30 totally connected devices, you know, and if you're in a home and you got a couple of smart TVs, some phones, some laptops, you're probably at 15, 20 connected devices before you even get started. So you're really like off your home router, only going to get like 5 light bulbs before the thing crashes on you. When you when you build it out, you know, you can use, we really recommend Wi-Fi 6 for a bunch of reasons that's beyond the scope of this presentation, but highly recommend the Wi-Fi 6 system deployed. It's just built for the Internet of Things and works way better. So basically on like a half decent Wi-Fi 6 system, you can get probably 250, 300 connected devices, provided you have enough access points for it. You're talking about 30 devices per access point is probably reasonable, 30, 40 per access point. Once you get much past 250, 300 connected devices, you really want to be working with an IT specialist to make sure that there's enough capacity on the network to support that many connected devices. So that's the safest answer I can give. So right off the bat, 4 or 5 without upgrading your network, half decent upgraded network, 250 to 300, and then you can push it way bigger, but you just have to like really work on the network system. So it's not a limitation on the number of devices, on the number of light fixtures, it's a limitation on the capacity of the Wi-Fi network to support it. Steve says, what about Savant? Short answer, I forget, maybe. Henny, do you know where we're at with Savant on that one?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Our goal is to do it. Okay. So Home Assistant. So I forget. David wants to know, does it work with Home Assistant? Is that Home Kit or is that something different? It works with all here. I got the slide here for this one.
Siri shortcuts, yes. HomeKit, no.
Okay, so here we go. So it works with Hey Google, Alexa, Siri shortcuts, Samsung SmartThings, and IFTTT. Those are your cloud-to-cloud integrations. And then your like control systems integrations, Control 4, now Crestron coming, and the other guys were not yet. Okay, which feeds into the next one, Zigbee, Thread, and Matter. So short answer, no, it's not Zigbee, it's Wi-Fi. We get the full TCP IP stack, super stoked on that. Current chipset does not have Thread in it. The next generation chipsets will be Thread, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi. The Matter standard was just released. The version 1.0 of the Matter standard was released January this year, I believe, for lighting. And then immediately everybody came back, and I believe version 1.2 or 2.0 was just released. So the entire industry sort of getting caught up to Matter. So the short answer is it will be Matter. It's specifically contemplated the chipsets are going to support Matter, and it's our intention to make them all Matter, but the Matter standard hasn't been like even the matter standard for lighting control has not been solidified yet. And once it is, we will be retroactively compatible. So it'll be an over-the-air update to make it matter supported, and then all new stuff will be a matter going forward. Okay, how many OnCloud jobs has Liteline done today? I think there's about 16,000 homes with like 100,000 connected devices or something like that. That neighborhood anyway. Okay, Dave says, when the Wi-Fi goes down, what does the system default to? That's a really good question. So let's divide that question into kind of 3 chunks. So there's the connection to the internet, which is sort of your outer connection, and then there's your local Wi-Fi inside the home. So this device, like the WiZ application, the OnCloud WiZ application is a cloud-based solution, but an entire copy of the programming. So that's your scheduling, that's your lights, it's your grouping, all of that stays resident on the actual driver. So there's a radio chip inside the actual device here. So if your local network is up, but your connection to the internet's down, you're not really going to be able to get the full suite of stuff, but it's not going to crash. It'll still keep working because all the programming is stayed locally. Your schedules are going to run, all that other stuff's going to run, even if your connection to the internet's down. Then when it comes back up, then you can start syncing. Obviously, remote access off-site isn't going to work if you don't have an internet connection to your local thing. But like on-site, you probably wouldn't even notice the difference if you lost your internet. So then the next question is, well, what happens if our local Wi-Fi network goes down? Okay. The app's not going to work because like your Wi-Fi is down, so that's not going to go. But how do I turn my lights on and off? This is where it gets super cool. This device is transmit only. It's not actually a networked device. It's a transmitter of Wi-Fi signal. It sends out a control frame, if you're familiar with that term. So what that means is that as long as these 2 devices are within range of each other, about 30-foot radius, even if you don't have any Wi-Fi in the building at all, this device and this device will still work. So even if the Wi-Fi network goes down, you walk up to the wall, you can still turn your lights on, you can still turn them off, you can still dim, you can still use your CCT, you can still run your connections, and your programming will still run because the programming is staying resident on the actual fixture. So really, if your Wi-Fi goes down, the only thing you're actually losing is your ability to control it via the app. But otherwise, and to make any changes and to update it, but you're still able to fully function your lighting. In fact, we actually make a tabletop display kit where this device is paired to the fixture and the thing, and there's no Wi-Fi deployed in the space at all, and it still works. So it's really, really, really stable. It's very important because like lighting is life safety stuff. You can't have a situation where people can't like leave their house, they start tripping over stuff in the dark because their network goes down, right? You're not pulling out a flashlight to go reboot your router because you got to use the bathroom at 3 a.m. That's just not one of the situations that we're going to get into. Okay, next question. Steve, do you have IES files for specific CCT at full output and different angles? Yeah, we got all the CCT. We have all the IES files, and if there's a specific one that you need that we don't have, we can spin them up. We have a goniometer on site. Okay, 1 room controller needed per room or per zone. 4 zones lighting in the kitchen. Okay, so the question is, it really is a question about deployment and layout and the whole thing. So the short answer is whatever you want. You can do 1 controller per room or per zone or per fixture or per home if you really want. I don't recommend that, but like there's not a technical reason why you can't. Associating the room controller, by default, the room controller goes to the, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. By default, the room controller speaks to the room as a whole, but within the app, you can basically set and target specific luminaires. So if you wanted to have, for instance, in my kitchen here, I've got downlighting and I've got a linear fixture over my countertop. I have 2 room, even though they're in the same room, I have 2 room controllers. So I can control the downlights independently from the linear fixture. So really it's a ultimate flexibility, and we can do a screen share on the app, and I can show, actually, I might as well do it right now. You guys tell me if you can see, when you can see my phone, and I'll show you how to target it and do the grouping. Can we read that? Yes, no, maybe?
It's very difficult.
Very difficult. How about
That's
that?
better. That's better.
All right.
We can't read it, but we can follow along.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to settings. I'm gonna go to accessories. And these are all my room controllers. So here's my dining room controller 1. And we can click on targets. And right now it's targeting for Downlight specifically. And so now I can target specifically which fixtures I want that one room controller to target. So we can either target by room and it'll do everything in the room, or we can go to products, and this one is specifically targeting only the downlights and not the pendant that's over my dining table. Hopefully that answers the question. But really, I encourage you to talk to your RSM, get some samples, go on the app and play with it for yourself. Because like that's the best way to actually figure it out. Okay, Chris, does each downlight have its own IP address? Yes. No. So so Chris, the answer is each downlight does have its own IP address. And the room control, so that's a really good question. So in a lot of other situations, what happens is the Wi-Fi network talks to the wall device, and the wall device is still hardwired to all the other fixtures. So you can't dynamically change grouping, because from the wall device to the fixtures, you're still just running copper. And then you can't do white tuning, you can't do color, because you're limited in communication to what can go over those two like copper AC wires. That's not what we're doing here. Each downlight has its own radio chip, its own Wi-Fi, its own IP address, its own MAC address. So that's how we can get to controlling. You know, I'm just in my office here. Let me go back here, home, office. That's how we can control individual luminaires separate from each other. We can do them one at a time, because each one has its own IP address, and you can set individual colors for each one, right? You can do blues, reds, greens. We can do dynamic patterns. It's really a lot of fun. Again, I encourage you to get some samples from your RSM and play with it. Paul, does this work with Control 4? Mostly. There is a driver that exists, and it's mostly works, and it will be improved shortly. Okay, not HomeKit. HomeKit is a platform that can pull in HomeKits, Google, Siri, etc. I'll let Handy tackle that one after. Okay, is Bluetooth meshing built in? Bluetooth meshing does not really work on this. So we've been trying, it's not producing so well. So we're really looking forward to once the tri-band thread Bluetooth and Wi-Fi chips are available. So in the future generations, we believe that Thread as a platform will really overshadow Bluetooth meshing for a whole bunch of reasons. Dave, good news on Matter. Awesome. Chris, do the lights popcorn, or do they always fit on off perfectly together? It's not perfect. There's a bit of popcorning. It can happen. It all depends. It's mostly good. Really, probably the best answer is if you're controlling it from the wall controller, it's really good. Is it theatrical grade? No, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't put this in. I wouldn't design a stage play around this with the lighting. And if you require really precise control, if that's what you're going for, then you're into like a full DMX system. This is we'll call it a not consumer grade, but we'll call it residential oriented program where like good enough is good enough. And we believe that the advantages of being able to do white tunability and full color are more important than that sort of like 500 millisecond popcorning that might happen. So it really depends on the tolerance for imperfection that the space requires. Again, it's still tech. There's still like, I have Apple earbuds and they still lose connectivity once in a while and reconnect. That's sort of a fact of life. There are crunchies in tech, but the question is, does the benefits of being able to have this additional control outweigh sort of like, 300 millisecond popcorning?
Dan, and just to add to that, sorry guys. In addition to that, the strength of your Wi-Fi plays a big part here. So the stronger your network, your local network, the smoother your light's going to work. If you have a weak network, you're going to get more popcorning. So it's going to take a more delay time. If you overbuild your Wi-Fi network, you're going to greatly reduce that popcorning effect.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all Wi-Fi performance. Okay, so does the room controller communicate to the fixture via Bluetooth? Actually, no, the room controller communicates via Wi-Fi. It's really neat. So the way it works is there's this thing called a Wi-Fi control frame. And what a Wi-Fi control frame is it's one-way communication. So if you like open up your iPhone or Android or whatever device you're using, and you're anywhere in a city, you're going to see like 10, 15, 20 Wi-Fi networks pop up as like available networks, right? So what that means is you're not logged on to those networks, but your phone's still sensing those networks and reading those networks and seeing that they're available. So what's happening is those routers are broadcasting a control frame. And the control frame has your SSID, it has your network name, it has has a whole bunch of stuff that you can't really see on the screen of your phone. But the point is it's broadcast only. So what happens when we have this has a Wi-Fi broadcaster. So it's got a MAC address that's built into your machine address code. It's unique to every single Wi-Fi chip, has a unique code. And then we have 8 buttons on here. And each button it's a hash of the MAC address plus a unique code for the function on the button. And what we do is on the fixture, we program it to listen to that sort of broadcasted control frame that comes from here. So each button sends a unique frame, and then that gets listened to by the driver, which then runs a specific set of instructions. It can be on, off, dim up, dim down, CCT up, CCT down. So it is communicating over Wi-Fi, not Bluetooth, which is super cool. For a bunch of reasons, and we can take it offline. I can go deep into how it works, but it's really, really neat, and that's why it's stable even if your router is down, because you're not going from this device to your router to your fixture. You're going direct from this device right to the fixture, bypasses the entire network, which again is why the popcorning doesn't really take place when you're using this device, because you're not worried about overloading network performance. Okay, how many lights can be controlled, added to it? Chris, you got a lot of questions here, and that's amazing. I love it. I'm going to answer all of them. But if you want to have a conversation after, by all means, ping Sarah or me or your RSN. We can really dive into it. Okay, infinite. I don't really know if there's an upper limit because of the structure. It's not that you're programming the device to the remote. It's that you're programming the devices to listen to the remote. So that's going to broadcast. It's just sending one broadcast signal when you hit the button, and then any devices within range can respond to it. And then if your Wi-Fi is up and running, basically any device in the home can do it. It's probably academic at this point, but hey, Henny, can you program one device to span multiple homes, or is it limited to the home?
The room controller?
Yeah,
it's just in the home.
Okay. So basically, you can control up to all of the devices in the home from one room controller. So no functional limit on that. Okay, dimming increments, 10% dimming increments on the OnCloud dimmer. Okay, if you lose power, the lights go out during the night. Is there a setting in the app to make sure your night lights don't come back on full bright? Yes, there is. It is called power failure recovery mode. So the reason why it's not standard is because you don't need to use the room controller. You can just take a regular wall switch and then tape it in the on position, and then have it accessible. Or some people might not want to change the device and they just want to actually cut the AC power. So that the lights need to know, hey, did this power go off intentionally because we have a toggle wall device in the wall? Or are we in a power failure mode? So the answer is, if you're using the room controller and you don't want the lights to come back on when the power cycles, it's literally one setting right in the thing. It's called power failure recovery, and then your lights aren't going to come back on. I recommend everybody do that, because it's really annoying if you have a power flicker at 3 a.m. and then the house responds like everybody turned off and turned on every light switch. No bueno. Okay. Do I need to change any wiring to use OnCloud products? I assume it requires a neutral wire to be connected. Yes, it needs a neutral. No, it's built on traditional wiring. There's no structured cable. There's no low voltage wiring. Really 120 volt AC, 60 hertz, black to black, white to white, and away you go. But yes, you do need a neutral. Okay, if every downlight has its own IP address, won't that throttle the Wi-Fi speed? Yes, that is why we recommend using Wi-Fi 6, because Wi-Fi. So this isn't just a Liteline OnCloud issue. This is the whole Internet of Things issue. This is your Ring doorbells. This is your security cameras. This is your sensors. This is your everything connected. So Wi-Fi 6 built into the standard segregates network traffic between high availability and low bandwidth devices doorbells, lights, door locks, et cetera, and high bandwidth, low availability, which is your Netflix streaming, your gaming, your whatever, right? If it takes 1 second for Netflix to boot up, to start streaming, you know, high bandwidth, not a big deal. If it takes 1 second for your lights to turn on, no bueno. 1 second popcorn and way outside the spec. So that's why we highly recommend using a Wi-Fi 6. It will work on Wi-Fi 5. Highly recommend Wi-Fi 6 to give excellent performance. And if you're into like, you know, anything above 30 or 40 devices, you know, you're probably going to want to siphon off a separate network SSID, like create a separate SSID dedicated to your IoT network. Because if you're the kind of guy that's like 40 connected devices, you probably have doorbells and sensors and all kinds of other cool stuff that is really neat. And so you're going to want to segregate that traffic from your like gaming world. Okay, Lutron Crestron. No. Crestron we're working on, we're talking to him. We're getting along. Lutron's gonna be a bigger conversation, but right now, no, we cannot directly integrate with Lutron. Are these Lunas available in 4-packs? Nope, singles or 6-pack masters, 6-pack inners, but like we're not doing like a dedicated 4-pack thing with them. Okay, can the dynamic color changing be synchronized so color changes happen at the same rate for fixture groups? Absolutely yes. Chris, my entire team registered under my link that I forwarded to them, and it comes as Chris for all of us. Sorry. You are forgiven. Wow, that was super interactive. That's probably like the most questions we've ever had on a product. And I am stoked that we actually have 136 attendees that made it to the end of the question and answer period. That's like a world record. So thank you, warms my heart. Lets me know that we're not spinning our tires here and people are also interested in what we're building. Again, thanks on behalf of the whole Liteline team. We're all really stoked for this. Any other questions before we sign off here? Give it a minute. Sarah, Hanny, Gil, Nick, any closing remarks?
No, just wanted to say thanks everyone for coming. Really appreciate it. We're actually at 155 people, according to my tracker here that stayed till the end. So we really appreciate it. We love when you guys come and ask questions, and the interaction at the end is super helpful and everybody's learning from it. What we're going to do is we're going to take this extensive Q&A and we're going to put it in a transcript, type it out and send it to everybody so everybody has a copy of these questions from here. So yeah, thanks so much. On Tuesday, we'll send out a follow-up with a copy of the webinar, as well as all of the sales tools you might need. If you are an agent, sell sheets, displays, all of that. If you need, we'll get some samples out to you. And yeah, thanks so much for tuning in.
One last question. Luis wants to know if I have drums in the room. Yes.
Sign up for next month's webinar. This is going to be coming out next week. It's really exciting. Something we've had 6 years in the making. An extension to the Luna family for fire rated applications. So stay tuned for that one. And thanks again. Thanks, Dan.
Awesome. All right, cool. Talk to you later.